Okay, bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Farhan Zaidan from PBE 3H. And in this video, I will explain to you about my phonetics and phonology final exam. Okay, first we talk about a definition with phonetic and phonology. Phonetics is how studies how to process sound through human speech organ to produce bruxal sound, and now linguistic symbol or sign. Uh, and phonology is one of the sub-branches of linguistic that studies the pronunciation of a word by producing sound with a certain pattern. And in phonetic and phonology, we will study about the speech organ and manners of articulation, place of articulation in voicing, the English vowels, English plosive and English fricatives, English affricates and English nasals, English approximant and suprasegmental sound, stress and intonation. Okay, now we are focused on the speech organ and manner of articulation, place of articulation and voicing. Okay, um, the speech organ. First, we talk about the definition about it. Speech organ is all organs such as larynx, tongue, and lips are involved in producing articulate speech. There are two types of vocal organs or articulation. Passive articulator and active articulator. A passive articulator remains static during pitch articulation. The upper lip, teeth, ridge, hard palate, soft palate, uvula, and parietal wall, and passive articulators. Active articulators move relative to these passive articulators and produce different sound in different ways. The main active articulator is the tongue. The lower lip and glottis are other active articulators. And the manner of articulation is an obstruent is a consonant sound formed by obstructing the outward airflow, causing instrate air pressure in the vocal tract. And sonorants are those articulations in which there is only a particle, closure, or an unimpeded oral or nasal escape of air. English has the following susurrant consonant phonemes: L, M, N, Y, G. Okay, next, the speech organ. Speech organ first is the lips. Lips are also divided into two. There are upper lips and lower lips. The upper and the lower lips can be pressed together to produce the sound p, p, and b. The lips are brought into contact with the teeth when we produce sound f, and v, v. Or we can make the lips rounded to produce vowels like U, O, U, O. The lips can take different shapes and positions. The rounded and sparse. Rounded when we pronounce certain vowels, our lips may be rounded. Oscillation when the corners of lips are brought toward each other and the lips are pushed forward. The resulting vowels from the position is round vowels like U. Okay, and then spread. The lips can be spread in this position. The corner of the lips are moved away from each other when we smile, like when we smile, like the fold that we articulate from this position in an unrounded or spread one from, for the example, like e, like e. Okay. When next to teeth, the teeth are divided into two: the upper and lower teeth. Upper, lower. They are located immediately behind lips. When the tongue is in contact with the upper side teeth, many speech sounds are produced. Uh, the next is tongue. The tongue is very important articulator, and it can be moved into many different places and different shapes. Its movement in oral cavity plays an important part in production of almost every speech sound. Usually, it is divided into um, into into different parts: tip, blade, front, black, and root. Okay, next, alveolar ridge. Alveolar ridge is basically hard ridge behind the upper front teeth. It is between the roof of the mouth and the upper teeth. You can feel its shape with your tongue. Its surface is really much rougher than it feels, and is covered with a little ridge for the sound s. Air from the lungs passes consciously through the mouth, but the tongue is raised sufficiently close to the alveolar ridge to cause friction and is partially blocks the air that passes. Moreover, sound met with the tongue touching here, like t, 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 are called alveolar. And then hard palate. The hard palate can be found at the top of the mouth, which is why it is often called the roof of mouth. Then the interaction between the tongue and the hard palate is essential in formation of certain speech sound like t, d, and j. Velum and next velum are soft palate. The velum or soft palate is in a position that allows air to pass through the nose and through the mouth. Often its speech is raised so that air can escape through the nose. Its main function is to separate the nasal cavity from oral cavity in order to produce the oral speech sound. Um, the other important thing about the velum is that it is one of the articulator that can be touched by tongue when we make sound k and k. The tongue is in contact with the lower side of the velum, and we call this velar consonant. Now we next to uvula. The hanging ball's full name is the palatine uvula, referring to its location near soft palates. And we next to pharynx, and after pharynx is glottis. Okay, we next to place of articulation. Place of articulation, I will explain to you. First, about bilabial. Bilabial sounds involve the upper and lower lips. In the production of bilabial sound, the lips into contact with each other to form an effective contraction, like in English, p, p, hmm. For the example, boop, poop, and mom. And next, labiodental. Consonant occur when you constrict airflow by curling your lower lip back and raising it touch your upper row teeth like and example force for the view vegetable. Next we got interdental between the teeth. Interdental and sound is produced by putting the tip of the tongue between the upper and lower teeth. In English are interdental sound like thing, though, and mother. Okay, we're next to alveolar. The alveolar ridges where your teeth meet your gums. Your you create alveolar consonant when you raise your tongue to the alveolar ridge to block or constrict airflow. Uh, like in English, t, d, s, z, s, z, n, o, and or. Example like top, dub, sun, zoo, nose, laugh, and run. Next, post-alveolar. Post-alveolar consonants are articulate with the tongue near or touching the back of the alveolar ridge. In English, the example chill, shape, education, and vision. Next, we got palatal consonant sound produced by raising the blade or front of the tongue toward or organize the hard palate just behind the alveolar ridge, like yes and you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're next to velars. Velar made of back part of the tongue and the soft palate. Example like gun, come, wake, and king. And the last is glottal. The glottal consonant is not produced with tongue or lips, but produced with the throat. Like h, h, h. Hello, hi, how. Okay, we're next to the last material in this video. It's a production of sound. In this section, we examine speech production from an articulatory perspective in order to better understand the subsequent sections on vowels and consonant. It must be said the language does not start in the lungs. It starts in the brain and is studied by psycholinguistic. After creating the message and lexical structure in your head, you need a representation of the audio sequence and the set of commands that your speech organ execute to produce the utterance. Therefore, you need a voice plan and exercise plan. After this mental manipulations comes the physical production of sounds. Speech is therefore produced by the flow of air uh, from the lungs through the trachea, oral cavity, and nasal cavity. This includes for her four process uh, in initiation, vocalization, oral nasal process, and articulation. The intonation process is the moment expelled. The moment air is expelled from the lungs. In English, speech sound are the result of lung intrusive airflow, but this is not true in all languages. The vocalization process take place in larynx. The larynx how two horizontal folds of tissue for the passage of air. Those are vocal cords. The gap between these folds is called the glottis. The glottis closes and air cannot pass through, or they may have narrow openings that vibrate the vocal cords to create voiced sound. Ultimately, it can be open wide like normally breathing, reducing the vibration of the vocal cords and creating a voiced sound. After passing through the larynx and pharynx, air can enter the nasal or oral cavity. The palatine sail is the part responsible for the selection of the mouth and nose, the process by which nasal consonant m and n, and n sound can be distinguished. Okay, there are I think enough for me. I hope you understand what I explain, what I have explained to you. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.